call. They're great to talk to. They'll offer to pray with you each time you call too. Call now, 833-SHARE-55. That's 833-SHARE-55. 833-SHARE-55.
Rocket 1025.
With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 75. Winds out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Slight chance for showers. Lows level off around 50. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Highs around 77, partly cloudy. Clear skies and dry Wednesday and Thursday with highs in the upper 70s. A peek at the extended shows, 81 Friday, 82 Saturday, and 78 on Sunday. Once again, we should top off around 75 today. Lows level off around 50 tonight. A high of 77 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Right now, it's 40 degrees.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I have a serious heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. I still had symptoms on my beta blocker, so I asked my cardiologist about any treatment advances. It was a breakthrough for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com for more information.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb.
For the first time in history, the Colby Trojan volleyball team is ranked number 6, and they're hosting the number 5 Barton Community College at the Colby Event Center on Monday at 6:30. CCC is throwing them a huge tailgate party on the south side of the event center starting at 4:30 with yard games, food, music, and giveaways leading up to the match that you can get into for free at 6:30. Come out and support your number 6 Lady Trojans volleyball team as they host number 5 Barton Community College Cougars.
They're having one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. That's right, a hail sale where you can get massive savings on a new vehicle. For example, get a 23 GMC Sierra 1500 up to $20,000 off when you trade in eligible vehicle, now just over $37,000. A new 24 Chevy Tahoe RST, $13,000 off, now just over $59K. Plus 24 Chevy Traverse RS, $10,000 off, now just over $45,000. Plus many more. It's one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Whether you're buying your first house or your retirement dream home, we know the importance of getting a mortgage you can live with. At F&B Bank, our goal is to make your financing search quick and enjoyable, from the terms to the personal attention along the way. Give me, Brett Lampy, a call at 785-890-5616 to apply today. F&B Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Searching for land online? Hayden Outdoors markets across top social media platforms and news outlets and includes total property exposure on millions of mobile devices. Properties we sell are seen on hundreds of websites, including Hayden Outdoors, Land, Land Watch, Land and Farm, Farm and Ranch, Land Flip, Homes, Realtor.com, Zillow, The Wall Street Journal, and that's just the beginning. Hayden Outdoors, the brand that sells the land.
Is chronic pain impacting your daily activities? Does the pain interfere with a good night's sleep? Or is your current medication no longer effective? It could be time to see a pain management specialist. Jeffrey Meyer, MD, is an experienced interventional pain management physician who specializes in minimally invasive pain management techniques. He has been helping patients manage their pain for more than 12 years. Call Goodland Family Health Center today at 785-890-6075 to schedule your appointment.
Get ready for the most electrifying football action of the season right here on Rocket 1025. Cheer on your Denver Broncos with every thrilling play, every game-winning drive, and every heart-pounding moment. Don't miss a second of action. Tune in all season long to Rocket 1025. Broncos football, powered by FMB Bank, Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Colby Ag Center, Tubbs & Sons Ford Sales, Hoxie Feed Yard Imperial Beef, Next Tech Wireless, Burlington Ford, Zimmelman's Jewelry, and Vince's GM.
Mark your calendars for the event of the season. Join us at the 38th Annual Flatlanders Fall Festival from September 27th to the 29th in Goodland. Car enthusiasts, don't miss the Weekend on the Bricks car show and Bikes on the Bricks motorcycle show. Live music, food trucks, and activities for the whole family.
Friday kicks off with live music, free barbecue for the first 600 guests, and fun activities at Chambers Park. Saturday, it's all on Main Street with car and motorcycle show registrations starting at 8.
Visit flatlandersfallfestival.org for details or follow SCCD Community on Facebook.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Give me my cane. I'll show you how to play this game.
The region's only local sports talk.
Dynamite drop in at broadcast school has really paid off.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 1025, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guy is everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Touchdown, the Cowboys!
To the pros.
And Timmy back on the track. It's out of here. Bobby Witt Jr. delivers a go-ahead grand slam.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work. 2nd and 6. Two receivers stacked on top far side. France goes in motion in the air with Miller near side. It's a give again up the middle with Chayton Goodwin. Goodwin now bouncing it to the outside, has the speed, has a good block from Miller at the 30, the 25-20. He's going to go 10-5. Hello, end zone. Touchdown, Chayton Goodwin.
Snap back to Raiola. Play action, looks into the end zone. That ball is caught. Touchdown. Isaiah Nair. Hold it in from Dylan Raiola. And Nebraska's got the lead.
Daniels claps his hands. They bring it back left side with Luke Grimm rushing from right to left. He's got blocking. The 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Kansas.
Shotgun snap. Shador rolls the pocket out to the left, looking downfield, setting his feet, rifles this one towards the end zone. And it's just shy, or did he catch it? It was LaJonte Wester. He scooped it up. He scooped it off the turf. Holy cow, what a play. I can't believe my eyes.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Morning Blitz. As always, broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 1025. Also, of course, online, NWKSradio.net. And video streaming available through the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on Facebook, X, and YouTube. We don't care how you're listening or watching. We just appreciate you tuning in here on this Monday, September the 23rd, where right now it's a cool start. Had to get the jacket out of the closet for the first time here this fall, as it is fall right now. First day of fall, of course, happening yesterday. So welcome to fall of 2024 on top of all that. But 43 degrees and sunny out to get things going here today on this Monday. Temperatures are going to warm up. We'll get back up into the 70s today, upper 70s. Could see some upper 70s, low 80s throughout the course of the next 6 to 8 days, somewhere in that range, I would say. So very nice temperatures coming your way after some hot and windy days over the last couple of weeks. So definitely looking forward to some cooler temperatures. I don't mind pulling the jacket out for a little coolness in the morning. It's perfectly fine with me. As always, we have a full show on a Monday. We've got the leftovers to get to. We'll talk plenty of volleyball, including a massive match tonight over in the Colby Event Center. We will also be talking with our good friend from Chiefs Blitz. That would be Nick Athen, our good Chiefs insider. We'll talk with him about the Chiefs' close win last night down in Atlanta, and we'll get more thoughts on week 3 of the NFL football season with Nick as he'll chime in here coming up at the bottom of the hour. But lots to get to on a Monday, as there always is, and there's no better way to recap a weekend then with our weekend winners and losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners.
Loser! You're a loser!
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
You want to be a winner, be a winner.
I want to start off first and foremost with some weekend winners that include area football teams, first and foremost. I want to start off with some very, very good football teams that had some very nice wins here this past weekend. So starting first and foremost off with 3-0 football teams. And unfortunately, of course, my notes that I have on the computer are not working, so I'll have to try and pull these up another way, which is fine. I'll find a way to get it done. But anyway, looking 3-0 football teams here this past weekend, you have Hoxie, Colby, St. Francis, and Wescan football teams all getting to 3-0 with wins. Colby doing it in a shutout victory of Cimarron 22-0. That's now 2 games where the Eagles have allowed 6 points or less. Their defense has been very, very good through the first 3 weeks of the season. Yes, they give up a couple scores against Holyoke, but I think it was mostly in the first half. So they really figured things out for pretty besides maybe 2 quarters. That defense has been very good for Colby so far this year. Hoxie was fantastic against Ellis. Talked about that with our good friend Connor Nickel of S3 and K-Preps, how he thought that was going to be the game possibly of the Friday night. And it was all domination by Hoxie, proving that they are once again the number 1 team in that classification. They forced 5 turnovers and won handily 54-8 over in Ellis. Duncan Bell was the star of that game. He accounted for 4 touchdowns, 3 of them rushing, and also had 2 picks of the 5 turnovers that were forced by that Hoxie defense. So great performance from Hoxie. How about St. Francis? A 48-0 shutout win over Greeley County. The Indians are 3-0 for the first time since 2021 after some rough seasons. Grant Wiggers has got that program going in the right direction. Lucas Riley, their quarterback, had 5 total touchdowns, and he did it all. 3 passing, 1 rushing. He also had a receiving touchdown from Lane Todd, who passed for 1 and ran for 2. Did Lane Todd as St. Francis won, once again, convincing over Greeley County, 48-0. And a huge game coming up here on Friday between St. Francis and Decatur Community, who, by the way, is also up to a 3-0 start. So that's a fantastic football game ahead there. And then Wescan, of course, 3-0 as well. An easy win down at Moscow, 62-6. So Colby, Hoxie, St. Francis, Wescan, and can't forget about Decatur Community, kind of on the outskirts of our listening region. But those teams right there off to 3-0 starts to kick off the high school football season. A very, very good third week of football that also saw Quinter lose 50-0 to Dighton. Rollins County winning big at Waukene, 42-24. Ryan Schromick was great. He ran for 3 bills and 3 touchdowns, did Ryan Schromick. Wallace County suffering their first real loss of the season. They were thumped by that previous mentioned Decatur Community team, 52-6. Decatur Community's Josiah, I think it's Pattengall is how you say his name, had 3 touchdowns in that victory. So far through 3 games, Pattengall has got 580 yards rushing and 10. That's right, count it, 10 touchdowns on the season. What a matchup that's going to be this coming Friday between St. Francis and Decatur Community. Cheyenne, they were shut out by Ingalls, 46-0. Tri-Plains Brewster fell in a shootout with Rolla, 64-52. Golden Plains pulling away from Wheatland Grinnell and winning convincingly, 54-6. Josh Rath, the quarterback, accounting for 7 total touchdowns, 4 of them passing. Dylan Wark, by the way, he had a good day. He had 5 total touchdowns. So combined between Wark and Rath, they had 12 total scores in the 54-6 win for Golden Plains on Friday night. And can't forget about the Goodland Cowboys, who won big in Oakley, 51-6. One of the more convincing, back-to-back convincing wins for the Goodland Cowboys. I'll have to go back and look the last time the Cowboys have won consecutive football games in such convincing and dominant fashion by the way of the score. It felt like the entire game, for those who didn't tune in and watched on the Goodland Voice or
tune in and listen on, of course, your radio. It really felt like as if the entire game was played on the Oakley side of the field. Like if the field could be tilted in one direction or the other, it was always tilted towards Goodland's end zone, or towards Oakley's end zone, excuse me. The Cowboys always seemed to be starting a drive in plus territory. Oakley always seemed to be starting a drive in way deep in their own territory. So it was always played on one end of the field. And Goodland took extreme advantage of it. They did. Anything that Oakley gave them that made it easier for them, Goodland took advantage of it. And they did it the way I think they needed to do it against Oakley. They ran the football. They ran for a season high 196 yards on the ground. Chayton Goodland went over the century mark for the first time in his career rushing the football. He had a great 41-yard touchdown run, as you heard on the highlights coming into the show. So they really got their ground game going. And that's something that I know that Goodland wants to pass the ball. I get they want to be a passing team. I get that their best player is a young man who's a wide receiver type tight end. I get that. But running the football is how you can help your defense, especially against good teams. If you can run the ball consistently, you can keep the other team's offense off the field a little bit more, maybe get a chance to stay in some games. And that's going to get tested, of course, this upcoming Friday when they take on Holcomb on the road in the district opener and also a league game. That's going to be a difficult matchup. But Goodland ran the ball well. Their defense was opportunistic. They got 2 more takeaways without committing a turnover offensively. So now they're +4 in turnover margin, which is absolutely massive. So things have gone right the last 2 weeks in dominant wins over Burlington and Oakley for the Goodland Cowboys. But competition takes a big step up here Friday against Holcomb. I look forward to seeing, hopefully, if this positive momentum can get things going here on Friday. I'm hoping to see that. I'm hoping to see that positive momentum carry into a game. Hopefully you can hang around and stay, make it a 4-quarter game against Holcomb. And who knows what happens if you get it that far down the line. But it's definitely going to be a step up in competition. Hopefully the Cowboys can continue to run the football as well as pass it as well as they did. Jackson Miller had 2 receiving touchdowns in the win against Oakley. And Zach Thorson wasn't relied on a lot, just threw for 93 yards. But that's okay. That's okay. Some of those games you need to let your offensive line, your running backs eat. And the Cowboys did that in that dominant win over Oakley. And for Oakley, it's kind of like what we thought going into the game. I think they have a good young football team. The thing is, though, it's young. When you're playing a lot of sophomores and freshmen in some key spots defensively and even offensively, it's going to be a challenge against older teams that are just physically more developed than you. So I get it. I get it. I think Oakley, though, starting this Friday, they're going to have a chance to get a win, possibly, as they step into their district play. They'll have some tough games in district play, but I think they're going to be in much more competitive games going forward. I think the Plainsmen will be better suited in that going forward. I still think they've got some good pieces. Jorgen Schlitz was him and Carson Beal did a great job. I thought in that game, Eli Schmidt's a nice target to throw to. Carter Selensky's just a young quarterback that needs more reps. So they've got good pieces. They just need to play a bit more competition that is in their realm. I am getting corrected, and that is, I thank you to Larry for chiming in. The FB Bank text line, the number 785-899-2222. Be part of the FB Bank text line. Larry texting into the show. Thank you, Larry. Yes, I was wrong. Decatur Community did lose to Dighton earlier this year in a close one. Let's see, 44-40. I mean, and that's not a bad loss if you're a Decatur Community. So I was wrong. They're not 3-0, but they are a very good 2-1 team taking on a 3-0 St. Francis squad. Once again, I think that'll be the game of the week coming up here in our listening region coming up here on Friday. So there you go. Weekend winners, number 1, high school football teams, particular teams that got off to 3-0 starts. Hoxie, Colby, St. Francis, and Weskin. Congratulations, those teams, their coaches, and their fan bases on a good start here in 2024. Continuing on weekend winners and losers, as always, you'd like to chime in with your weekend winner or loser, hit us up on the FME Bank text line. My second winner of the weekend, we're going to give it to the Denver Broncos. Would have not thought that the Denver Broncos would go on the road in Tampa Bay, a team that's off to a great start themselves, and the Broncos, who have looked poor, maybe at best, go out there and get their first win of 2024. It was not beautiful football. I don't want to say it was gorgeous, but they get the win. Bo Nix didn't turn it over. He threw for over 200 yards, didn't have an interception, didn't have a fumble. He ran for a score, which was great. As a team, the Broncos ran for 136 on the ground. That, to me, is probably the biggest thing. If you're the Broncos and you want to help your young quarterback, Put the ball in the hand of the backs and the offensive line and take some pressure off of him. Get a ground game going, and they were able to do that, rushing for 136 yards on the ground. That was a huge thing. They got it into Buccaneer territory quite a bit, couldn't find the end zone, but Will Lutz was able to pick them up. He made all 4 of his field goals that he was asked to do. But the biggest reason behind the running game, actually probably ahead of the running game, but the biggest reason next to the running game and why the Broncos were great was the defense. It was fantastic on Sunday. 2 takeaways, a fumble recovery, and an interception of Baker Mayfield. And count it, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 sacks of Baker Mayfield in that win yesterday down in the Bay. So that was really good. And I think I saw a stat late last night. I was watching some ESPN. I saw a stat like the Broncos are now like 5-0 in Tampa Bay or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous how good a record they have down in Tampa Bay. Like, they don't lose in Tampa. I don't know why, but they just don't. And so the defense, then that's going to be what you saw yesterday down in Tampa Bay is going to be the recipe for the Broncos to get wins this year. Their defense is going to have to play very well, meaning they're going to have to get quarterback pressure, force a couple of turnovers, be positive in the turnover, in the turnover margin, and then go out there and run the football in some sort of capacity. Whether that is, the quarterback picking up 5 to 10 yards on a scramble and getting down or getting out of bounds from time to time, running the football with the running backs and pounding it at you behind that offensive line that you've paid fortunes of money to. That's going to be the key. And not having to have Bo Nix go down and throw the ball 50 times a game, that's just not going to win you a lot of contests. So Broncos, a winner of the weekend. The Denver Broncos, a winner of the weekend, get their first win of 2024 in a very nice victory yesterday over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 26-7, the final score. And the one final winner of the weekend before we get to losers, how about Nebraska volleyball? Nebraska volleyball this week had a very challenging schedule. They were at home on Wednesday against the number 2 ranked team in the nation, Stanford, which, by the way, they took care of them in 3 sets. And then on Sunday, in a prime slot on ABC, that's one thing you're seeing, women's volleyball and other sports as well. But women's volleyball, women's basketball start to take on some of the 3-letter networks. And ABC yesterday had Louisville hosting Nebraska in what was a top 5 matchup. Louisville is number 4 in the country. Nebraska was number 5. And Louisville was unbeaten. Nebraska had 1 loss, which was a very curious loss on the road in straight sets to SMU a couple weeks ago. Who knows what happened there? But nonetheless, besides the fact, Nebraska goes out there and sweeps number 4 Louisville on the road on Sunday in straight sets in pretty convincing fashion. And so you have a sweep against the number 2 team at home and a sweep against the number 4 team on the road. That's a great bounce back week for Nebraska volleyball after a little bit of a tough week a few weeks ago, especially with SMU. So that was I think we're the final non-conference game. So now you're heading into conference play, which is always daunting, especially in the Big Ten. But if you're a Nebraska volleyball fan, that was a great weekend for you right there with 2 great sweeps of Stanford and Louisville, and confidence has got to be high for John Cook's team going into conference play. There you go. Weekend winners here on the Morning Blitz. Let's move on into losers here on Weekend Winners and Losers. As always, if you want to chime in with your thoughts and comments, the FNB Bank text line is open at 785-899-2222. Regional college football teams. It was a bad weekend for you. Yes, it was. Kansas led 28-17, an 11-point lead with under 6 minutes to play in Morgantown, West Virginia. And they lose. They lose to West Virginia in a heartbreaking fashion on one of the last plays of the game, pretty much with 15 seconds left. They lose 32-28, the final score, and the Jayhawks have lost their 3rd straight game. More on that coming up in just a minute. K-State committed 3 turnovers, held to just 3 measly field goals in Provo. 13th ranked Wildcats get blasted in BYU, 38-9. And then Nebraska losing on Friday. They lose in overtime to Illinois, 31-24. Nebraska's defense could not get off the field at times. They gave up way too many rushing yards on first down. And on top of that, they went to overtime, where if you get Nebraska in overtime, you might as well just call it a win, because Nebraska is 0-8. It's gone 8 consecutive overtime games without scoring a point in overtime. Not even a field goal. It's been that bad in overtime for Nebraska football. But more on these games here in just a second. But those 3 teams, KU, K-State, Nebraska, all lose. Colorado pulled it out by the skin of their teeth. You heard the call there on the intro with our good friend of the program, Mark Johnson, voice of the Buffs. He couldn't believe his eyes. LeJounte Webster caught a 43-yard Hail Mary from Shadur Sanders, and they would get the extra point to send it to overtime. And then in overtime, Baylor's running into the end zone, leaping over the goal line to tie the ball game up with a score in overtime. And of course, that man, Travis Hunter, gets his helmet on the football, pops it free, and goes out the back of the end zone. And it is Colorado for the win, 38-31 in their first game back in the Big 12. In what was a game where Colorado was down pretty handily. I mean, Baylor, which we talked about on Friday, had the number 1 ranked passing defense in the country, and it did not matter. I mean, Baylor, they slowed down Colorado for a little bit, but they came storming back in the second half and get the win 38-31. But you want to go back to the loss. I mean, Kansas, it's the same stuff, just a different day. And this is becoming an issue now. Now it's happened for 3 consecutive games. Your quarterback struggles with turnovers, another interception there for Jalen Daniels. After that, and then, of course, the defense could not get off the field late in the fourth quarter. That's another problem there. So there's another issue for Kansas. So the defense not be able to get off the field, and quarterback turnover issues. I don't think they gave the ball enough to Devin Neal, in my personal opinion. I think they should have given it to him more, but they didn't want to do that. And so that's why I think KU continues to lose. K-State, look, I knew going into, I talked about it last year. I said BYU is going to be a tough out in the Big 12. They're always going to be one of the oldest, if not the oldest team on the field because of who they are at BYU. And they're always going to, and they have a very tough place to play, particularly at night. That was a lion's den that K-State walked into, and I don't think they knew what they were getting into a little bit, and they got burned. I mean, K-State got K-Stated. They totally did. They got absolutely K-Stated. How about that punt return, which was a little fluky, of course, went through the punt returner's hands, ran all the way back to pretty much the 3-yard line, and then took it 97 yards to the house. I mean, that was ridiculous. And then, poor tackling late in that game, couldn't get a stop, couldn't get off the field defensively. And offensively, your young quarterback looked young. And that's going to happen from time to time. But that's not a knock on Avery Johnson. He just looked young. Silly turnovers. Can't do that. I think they tried to get him running a little bit late, and his confidence, I think, was already shook at that point in time. But I think, once again, if you're Chris Kleiman, you're like, hey, you know what? We lost that game, and yeah, that stings. And yes, we dropped, 10 spots in the rankings and almost out of the rankings in the coaches poll. But we can make the corrections. They're all self-inflicted wounds. We just got to find a way to finish drives, hold on to the dang on football, and tackle a little bit better. And we do that, I think we're going to be just fine. And then if you want to talk about Nebraska a little bit here and their loss to Illinois, look, here's the thing. Nebraska, I think the last couple weeks, Nebraska's defense has been exposed that they are not very good against the power run game. They have to get that figured out like pronto if they're going to find a way to get some more wins this year. They cannot allow teams to just run it right at them and not get stops. So that's a big issue there. I think and penalties. Penalties are killing Nebraska. A lot of 15-yard flags for face masks and stuff in that loss to Illinois. Can't have those and cannot have the defense be giving up that kind of stuff. Dylan Raiola looked great. Missed a touchdown pass, unfortunately, late. But you know what? Those are going to happen from time to time. But I think it's on the defense. They're considered an old team. 22, 23-year-old average of that defense. You have to get the stops, and you gotta get off the field a little bit more frequently than you are the last couple games against Northern Illinois and, of course, Northern Iowa and Illinois. Excuse me. You got to get off the field. Got to get off the field. And let that offense go back to work. I think those are the big things for Nebraska, because they need to correct it going forward. But like I said, loser of the weekend, once again, going to be regional college football. And then one more loser before we get to break, and Nick Athen, who's waiting patiently for us, he'll join us next to talk the NFL. Kansas City Royals are a loser of the weekend, folks. They were shut out for the second straight game, a 2-0 loss, and lost their seventh straight ball game yesterday in a 2-0 loss to the Giants. If you want to talk about things getting a little bit scary over there in Kansas City, it is all with the Royals. The Royals, once again, have lost 7 straight. Since they beat the Pirates and took the series 2-1 with a 5-1 victory, they've lost 4-3, 7-6 in the opening game against the Tigers. Since then, they've not scored more than 2 runs in a game over the last 5 contests. The offense has gone completely quiet. The pitching has still been good, but the offense has gone completely quiet. And they have gone from being comfortably in the postseason to now where it's a little dicey. Detroit is there, tied with you for the second wild card spot. Actually, I think Kansas City has the tiebreaker, though, at this point in time, but they're right there. Minnesota is a game back of you. So if you end up on this streak and you keep losing here in the final week of the season, you could be out of the postseason if you're Kansas City, and that's going to really sting. Really sting. So Royals are 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 7 in a row. They are holding on to a playoff spot in the wild card by a fingernail. We'll see if they can get it done. And by the way, if you have not taken a look today, if you have some time, look at the wild card standings. Look at in both leagues. The American League, Baltimore securely in. You got to think that. But Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, and Seattle all still have a chance of making the postseason if they can do the right things and get a few breaks to go their way. And then in the National League, San Diego looks to be in comfortably. The Mets and the Diamondbacks in the same sort of deal as the Royals and the Tigers. They're tied there for that second spot. The Braves are 2 games back. They could still make a run if they get a little bit of help and help themselves. So this is a very, very, very interesting wild card race. And with the final week of the season coming up here this week, I'm going to tune in and watch some baseball because I think you're going to see who the heck finishes this sprint or finishes this relay or this long run, this marathon in a sprint and makes the postseason because it's getting really interesting late. All right, there you go. Weekend winners and losers here on the Morning Blitz. Once again, winners, 3-0 high school football teams, Colby, Hoxie, St. Francis, and Weston, the Denver Broncos, and Nebraska volleyball. Winners of the weekend. Losers include regional college football teams going just a combined 1-4 this weekend, and the Kansas City Royals, who have lost 7 straight games. All right, we'll take a break, come back. Nick Athen's going to join us next from Chiefs Blitz. Look forward to visiting with him. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Monday.
As a customer-owned cooperative, Midwest Energy members elect their board of directors. Ballots for this year's director election are in the mail and must be completed and returned by October 4th. Election results will be announced at our annual meeting on Monday, October 21st, 10 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn in Hayes. We'll give away great door prizes, and all Midwest members are invited to attend. Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative, making energy work for you.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, a little long there on my weekend
right.
winners and losers.
I'm in no hurry.
We'll get to you here right after this break, but my apologies, got a little wordy.
No, I think you said all those things excellent. So my Jayhawks, my Royals, Jesus, guys.
I know. I hold on. We're going to talk about that
we'll
just
talk
for a
about
little bit. We're going to touch on that since I know you love both teams.
Right.
So we're going to touch on that stuff. So,
all right, buddy.
All right, we'll be coming to you here in a few minutes. All right.
Okay.
7.5 and May up 13 cents at 10.70 3/4. Chicago wheat, the December contract higher 10 3/4 at 5.79 1/4. March up 10 3/4 at 5.98 1/4. May up 10.5 at 6.08 3/4, and July up 10.5 at 6.14 1/4. Kansas City wheat, the December contract higher 12 on the overnight at 5.76. March up 12 1/4 at 5.89 3/4. May up 11.5 at 5.97, and July up 12 1/4 at 6.02 1/2. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up $27 at 42,470. The S&P up 9 at 5,772. The Nasdaq up 49 at 20,077. Gold higher $5.20 an ounce at 2,651.70. Crude oil up 6 cents a barrel at 71.06. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, John Hanke or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Fluto, Triad Law, or Tyler Dosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Out here, we raise stronger people, stronger crops, and we proudly raise our flag to that. Let the weather, pests, and pressures try to beat us down. We only keep growing up. With the next-gen genetics, the pure acre-for-acre know-how of these soils, and a deep pride of our roots, we are born to raise. At Hogemeyer. Learn more at therightseed.com.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game. Outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D, keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
They're having one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. That's right, a hail sale where you can get massive on a vehicle. For example, get a 23 GMC Sierra 1500 up to $20,000 off when you trade in eligible vehicle, now just over $37,000. A new 24 Chevy Tahoe RST, $13,000 off, now just over $59K. Plus 24 Chevy Traverse RS, $10,000 off, now just over $45,000. Plus many more. It's one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
Your daily dose of sports.
Fun weekend winners and losers. They're on this Monday morning. It's time to welcome in our guest of the day. It's our good friend from Chiefs Blitz. That's Nick Athen, who's kind enough to join us now. Nick, good morning. How we doing today?
I'm doing good, man. The Chiefs salvaged my other than miserable weekend, so I never had a doubt they were going to win.
Well, I really didn't either. I was watching him. I was like, they're going to pull this out. They got this. What are we talking about? Let's not worry about it.
No problem. This is just who they are. They're the cardiac kids, and it's Super Bowl or bust, and you just stack wins, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Oh, that's all right. Nick Athen joining us on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Before we get to the Chiefs, I want to talk about a couple of other teams I know you follow closely, your Kansas Jayhawks and the Kansas City Royals. I don't know which one's in a worse spot right now. They're both bad spots.
I think the Jayhawks are in the worst spot for a couple of reasons. One, it's obvious Jeff Grimes is not the answer as the offensive play caller.
Not looking
that
good.
Was a terrible hire. He had issues at BYU. He had issues at Baylor, and they look at some success that he had, and all of a sudden he's this offensive guru. Lance Leipold has done a remarkable job at Kansas. The problem is to take that next step to be an 8, 9, 10 win team every year and a team that people fear is a much larger step than any of the steps they've taken so far. And he has put way too much trust and faith in his coaching staff. Jalen Daniels clearly does not have that same thing he had a year and a half ago. And to ask him to be off a whole year and to suddenly be at a Heisman level and talk of Big 12 championships was unrealistic from the start. And, they just can't get out of their own way. I mean, they've had 3 leads in the fourth quarter in all 3 of their losses. As you said, the defense can't get off the field. They're not using Devin Neal. I mean, there's no tomorrow. So go out there and run him into the ground if you have to, but he should have 20 carries a game at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they're not giving Devin Neal the ball more. That guy is a bad man. He's a great player. I don't know why they just don't ride him way more. And I'm sure he'd probably be like, I'll take the carries. It's fine. Let's win.
He doesn't care. And I think the other thing, if you're a Kansas fan right now, is you got to be worried about the boosters. You got to be worried about the alumni because they are trying to raise $450, $500 million for this Gateway project. They don't have the money secured to finish the stadium on the other side. So if boosters start saying, maybe let's slow down a little bit and see what we're looking at here, maybe they don't hit that goal. So there's a lot at stake for Kansas right now. And I think they've mismanaged the early part of the season. I think they didn't temper the expectations to a point where they say, okay, let's just do it on the field first, and then we can kind of talk about it. But Lance Leipold is struggling right now, and he's got to figure it out. And it's going to be some tough love because Grimes, he has to be let go, no question.
Yeah, not looking good, especially offensively for sure. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, the Royals, they just can't find the win column. I tell you, they could go from being what was feeling like a playoff team to be completely out of it by the time we hit Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're tied with Detroit, but they have the tiebreaker, so they are. Even though the standings don't reflect that because they do alphabetical order when they're tied, they basically have a 1-game lead against the Detroit Tigers for winning the overall series for the season. However, if I'm John Sherman today, I'm upset. I'm really mad. He put all that money in this baseball team. The loss of Vinny Pasquantino really hurt this team. I think if Vinny was in the lineup, the Royals would probably already clinched a playoff spot because he would have made the key hit or gotten a sacrifice fly, in some of these losses. But in September, they have 2 7-game losing streaks. And this is why I was not high on Matt Quintero as the manager of the Royals, because he came from Tampa Bay and Kevin Cash. And Kevin Cash, and I lived in Tampa, so I lived in Sarasota, so I saw it firsthand. Every time they get into September of the postseason, he makes bad decisions with the coaching staff, with the line. And I'm sorry, with the lineup, with the bullpen. He always views it as, oh, there's another game tomorrow. Well, September baseball is about one thing: Game 7 every single night. That's it. And Quintero doesn't have that mentality. His players don't have that mentality. And there's only so much that Bobby Witt and Salvador Perez can do. The other guys are stinking up the joint. I mean, we saw all week how many times did they have bases loaded or minute, second and third with one out, a sacrifice fly, and they're up there hacking full swings. Just get the ball in the air and score a run. So they're not even doing the little things well, and that's on the manager. What about a suicide squeeze? You got Blanco on third base with less than 2 outs. You don't think a well-placed bunt down the first base line is going to score the guy? There's no creativity, and he's playing players. He's playing guys that have no business being on Major League Baseball rosters, especially in a pennant stretch, like Hansford and a couple others, Guile. These are just not guys who are going to go out there and make the big hit. So, Quintero has a lot to learn. And in my opinion, if they don't make the playoffs, and I'm John Sherman, I'm second guessing whether Quintero should come back next year. You can't have that kind of epic loss.
Well, especially, like I said, if you miss the playoffs, that's inexcusable from where things were. Inexcusable. Nick Athen, our guest from Chiefs. Let's talk the Chiefs. Boy, last night offensively was maybe not the most beautiful thing, but defensively, you could say that was pretty nice. Bent but did not break.
Yeah.
2 great 4th down stops deep in their own territory.
Yeah, I need some major credit this morning, especially on our podcast today, because Nick Bolton was just a man on fire last night. He made Bjorn Robinson look like he was a 7th round pick, with no talent. I mean, they held this kid to 36 yards on 17 carries, 1.7 yard average. And credit to Spags' defense. They knew they were going to keep running those stretch plays. And I always say, if you got less than a yard to go, you do your best to kind of go up the middle and you take your chances. But even if they'd have tried that, they still would have been stuffed, because the Chiefs defensive line, especially Mike Pennell, who continues to play amazing football despite his age. But the defense did what they had to do. Big interception by Chamari Connor. All of a sudden, Wharton's becoming a really good football player for this team. On the defensive line, Chris Jones was manhandled, had his helmet torn off. He did everything he could, but the star was Nick Bolton. And that stop on 4th down. How many times do we yell at the TV? Just shoot your gaps, hit your gaps, keep your gaps. And the Chiefs played the best gap defense I've seen them play for 4 quarters against the Falcons last night in the Steve Spagnuolo era in Kansas City. They were brilliant.
Now, that last play, I don't even know what they were thinking in Atlanta on that last play. 4th and inches, let's try and run wide. And that was an easy play, it felt like, for Bolton to make. And just sneak the ball, man. Can't you just sneak the ball? I don't know what they were thinking there, but you'll take it if you're the Chiefs to get through the inning. And I think we're starting to see, we're getting in 3 games in, we're starting to see a little bit more consistency of what we're going to see, I think, throughout the season. And boy, I brought it for now 3 straight weeks, but Travis Kelce not really getting as much as looks early on in the season, and Rashee Rice really being the playmaker that the Chiefs are needing at the wide receiver. Those things we talk about every week, and they just come to fruition.
Well, Rice just keeps excelling. He I think on that very first pass play that Patrick threw it low, he probably would have scored. He would probably split the defense because they were completely out of position. He's their superstar right now. He is their number one option in the offense. He understands how to work with Mahomes. He understands how to work in space. He got another touchdown. I made some really key plays. I think Rashee Rice, for everything he's been through, and give him credit for dumping his entourage, getting out of Dallas, coming back to Kansas City. Hollywood Brown sat him down. Patrick Mahomes sat him down and said, listen, we need you. Get your act together. And he worked his tail off in the offseason to be ready for this moment. He's not going to be suspended, thank God, for this offense anyway. But, Travis Kelce, listen, I rewatched the game last night, and I just kind of focused on where Kelce was in the field. Double teamed, triple teamed.
Mm-hmm.
In the few times he had one-on-one, Mahomes threw it to him. And one of those times he couldn't handle the pass, which would have been an easy first down. He's struggling a little bit, but he still plays hard. He still blocks. He still sacrifices his body. He still uses his routes as decoys, to open the middle of the field for everybody else. But, at some point, he and Mahomes will click.
Right. Yeah.
At some points, Mahomes and Worthy will click. Worthy still has a lot of work to do as far as route running goes and what to do when the ball's in the air. And, especially if it's short or if it's left or it's right or it's high or it's whatever it is. He has a lot of adjustments he has to make still. So, Kelce and Mahomes will be fine. And everybody's saying, well, he looks done. He's going to retire after this year. I don't think that's the case. And honestly, we need Kelce in December and January and February.
Right.
It's all irrelevant at that point. So it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Again, they're 3-0. They're the best team in the NFL. They haven't played anywhere near, I would say, 50% capability on offense. And if they ever get to 75, they're not going to lose a game this year.
Carson Steele, I thought, played very well last night. I love the storyline that his sister got married at the same time that they were playing the game. That made me laugh. But Carson Steele was really good, over 70 yards rushing in the replacement of Isaiah Pacheco. I thought he did what he was asked to do, and that'll work. That'll play for the Chiefs going forward.
Yeah, he's. I'm just going to say it now. He's going to be the eventual starter for Kansas City full time. Even when Pacheco comes back, they're not going to just give him the job. He'll probably be the backup if Carson Steele continues to make plays. I mean, he had a terrific block, on a couple of plays to give Patrick Mahomes more time to throw. He missed one, the one to Worthy that was intercepted. He makes that block. Then probably Mahomes is able to throw that ball over the top to Worthy that got intercepted by, his nemesis, Mr. Simmons. But I thought Carson Steele, he went 4.7 yard average, something like that, 72 yards. He did his job. And now when he learns how to catch the ball in the backfield and could do some of these other things, but I thought considering where he was a year ago at this time, where he was in the depth chart to begin training camp, it's mighty impressive. And thank goodness that Brett Veach said, hey, we got to have this guy. They brought him in as an undrafted free agent. And, I watched a lot of his film at UCLA last year, and I thought to myself, this guy can run. This guy can get up the middle. We're not going to have any issues, in short yardage situations. Of course, we had it twice last night, with him struggling in the red zone inside the 5-yard line. But those things will evolve, and they will figure those things out. I'm confident. But he was probably their second or third best player last night.
Nick Athen, our guest from Chiefs Blitz. What else stood out to you, I should say, in week 3 of the NFL? What were some of the big things?
Well, obviously there were a lot of upsets yesterday. I mean, the Denver Broncos. I mean, I had chastised Bo Nix to no end. And he was terrific. That surprised me. I thought Tampa Bay was better. But the Broncos defense is really good. And I think people need to understand how good they really, really are. And if Bo Nix gets confidence, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I think, I had him as the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft. I'm going to have to revise that if he continues to play like that. He just played within his capabilities. He made some big throws, but the Tampa Bay Bucks approach defensively and the lack of pressure they put on Nix because they were fearful of him running just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I was impressed with them. I was impressed with, the Steelers and Justin Field. That surprised me. Going up against a really good Chargers defense. Now I know Bosa was out for most of the game, but I thought his performance was really, really solid. And then the old man, Mr. Dalton for the Panthers, goes into the Raider land and just demoralizes this team. They pretty much put a fork in the Raiders at this point. That was not anything anybody expected. So that was a surprise. I think the Eagles were very lucky to win. The Saints just imploded. I didn't expect that performance. I thought the Saints would play a lot better, but it was a crazy Sunday in the NFL, a lot of upsets. And, I think that just goes to show you how lucky we are in Kansas City because the Chiefs are 3-0 and they haven't played their best football and they just keep winning. So, big game Sunday against the Chargers, who may be without Bosa, Herbert, both starting tackles are injured. It could be a bloodbath, for the Chiefs and the Chargers next weekend.
No, it could be, and I think to me it just proves that this is professional football. This is why there's a salary cap, so that the teams stay even, so you can have these. I mean, heck, even the Vikings routing the Texans.
Oh, that too. Yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, look at who's the quarterback.
Oh, I know, Sammy Darnold.
And this kid is maligned. I was jumping up. I thought he'd be a terrific backup for Kansas City, but you just look at him. And he's playing to the potential he has because he's got a great offensive coordinator. He's got a terrific offensive-minded head coach. The Vikings are probably the biggest surprise of the year, considering they lost their top draft pick, their quarterback. And here comes this kid who's been maligned, has been abused by the New York media. He comes in and sticks his middle finger up and says, "Hey, give me the right offense, give me the right head coach, and give me some playmakers, and I'll lead you to a playoff run." And they're a playoff team right now. Their defense is sick. And the Vikings, to me, are probably the biggest surprise on the year.
To me, that's, if I'm Bryce Young, I just kind of point that like, see, look, put me in a situation to have success, and I probably will have success.
He'll be traded. He'll be traded at the deadline.
He needs to be.
Yeah, no question.
Nick Athen, Chiefs Blitz, as always. Great stuff, Nick. Thank you so much for spending some time with us again. We'll do it again next week.
All right, we'll see you next Monday, buddy. Take care, Ross.
Once again, great stuff from Nick Athen here on the Morning Blitz. Let's get to a break. We'll come back, and we will wrap things up with the leftovers next. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Monday.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local
thanks, buddy.
hardware
Thank you,
stores
Nick. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk soon.
Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the Insurance Agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
with Ross Volkmer.
Mayfield in trouble, now climbs the pocket. Mayfield hit, spun down and knocked down short. Denver's defense with a huge stop. Bonito and Allen combine on the tackle.
On fourth down and a yard to go. Long count. They give it off. Rashawn Robinson hit in the backfield. He goes down. Kansas City holds on downs again. Nick Bolton.
Few highlights yesterday from the Chiefs and the Broncos wins. As we get into the leftovers here for the final couple of minutes of our show. Great weekends in high school volleyball for Hoxie and for Colby. Both teams competing in tournaments this past weekend. You had Hoxie go down to the Dighton volleyball tournament. They beat Holcomb in one of their matches. They ended up going 3-1 in pool play. They lost to Spearville in pool play, and then they lost to Spearville in the tourney title game in 3 sets. Colby went 3-2, and on Saturday night, the Liberal Volleyball Invite, the Eagles had a very tough schedule, but they beat the likes of Meade, Liberal, and Hugoton, but fell in straight sets to much bigger schools, Dodge City and Garden City, to go 3-2. They've really challenged themselves early here in the season, and I think it's going to set up well for them as this year progresses on. Tough weekend for Goodland Cowgirl Volleyball. They went 0-4 at the Russell tournament. Did not win a set, I don't think. I know the first 3 matches, they did not win a set at the Russell tournament. So a tough weekend for GHS Volleyball, still with just 1 win on the season. We talked about the Royals, the Rockies. They had a chance to take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers, blew it late. Back-to-back home runs from Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani, obviously. Who else? Gave the Dodgers down 1, a 2-run lead in the bottom of a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 9th. And they have lost 3 of 4, have the Rockies going into an off day today for both the Royals and Rockies. No games today. They'll resume the seasons on Tuesday with the final week of the season coming up for possibly both teams, for sure for Colorado, maybe for Kansas City if they don't get it together. And then local sports today, you've got Colby and Goodland Tennis down at Scott City today. You've got Colby with their golf invite, which will have Goodland, Rollins County, and Oakley. We'll see if the home course can help the Eagles knock off the Cowgirls for the first time this season. We'll see. Rollins County Triangular with Wallace County and Hitchcock County today going on as well. And of course, probably the biggest thing of the night is Colby Community College Volleyball, who, by the way, dropped a set against Seward County, but still won 3-1 Saturday to get to 14-1 in the season. They have a top 6 national ranking matchup with Barton today. Number 6 Colby against number 5 Barton. Top spot on the Jayhawk is on the line tonight from the Colby Event Center. 6:30 Central Time is when that will get going. You want to make sure you're there plenty early, though, as they're having a tailgate party. Is CCC Volleyball going to be happening in the South parking lot. NWKS Radio, our group is going to be there playing music with the rolling radio from 4:30 to 6:30. And then at 6:30, of course, is the match between the Trojans and the Cougars, which should be a great one. And then, by the way, having hot dogs and hamburgers served as well with music and giveaways. So food and fun and some top 6 ranked volleyball going on at the Colby Event Center tonight. Should be a fun time. It should be a pretty good crowd, one would think.
A 3-run walk-off home run, a game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion, that baby's go.
Well, it was another bad weekend for yours truly in picks. You might as well just ignore me every Friday and do the opposite. Went just a combined 1-5 on the weekend is what I did. The only win was Kansas City covering the 3 down in Atlanta. I had Tampa covering against the Broncos, loss. Had Colorado and Baylor going under 51.5, loss. How about K-State at BYU? K-State covered the 7, loss. KU at West Virginia under 65.5, loss. And Nebraska, I had them covering the 7.5 against Illinois, loss. 1-5 brings the overall season record to a pitiful 5-14-1. Don't put your money with me. That's it. We'll try it all again on Friday. We'll keep going. See if we can dig ourselves out of this massive hole we've put ourselves in here 3-4 weeks into this football season. Thanks to Nick Athen for joining the program. Always good to visit with him. As always, if you missed any of the show, tune in, go and download the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. It'll be posted up a little bit later here after the show. We'll see you back here again tomorrow in 23 hours for a Tuesday edition of the Morning Blitz. We'll see you then. Have a great Monday.